Cassif. They're both from Tableau Software Professional Service team. They are one of the best ones to do the Tableau server automation, Python scripts, and additional solutions that are not available from Tableau yet. I've been working with them for maybe 2 years, last 2 or 3 years. Today, they are going to share with you some of the work they've been doing or they have done in the different places. So without any further ado, Emiliano, why don't you take it over?
Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Mark, thanks for inviting us to this presentation. We'll do some quick introductions before we start. And my name is Emiliano Colosimo, and I'm a principal architect on the professional services team at Tableau. I've been with Tableau just over 7 years. I actually started in London in 2012 and have recently just relocated to the Bay Area about 2 years ago, where I actually met Mark, and we started working on some of these things together, which we'll hopefully show you guys today. With me is Kesev, my partner of adventures in all things automation. I'll hand it over to Kesev for a quick introduction.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Emiliano. My name is Kesav Raiprolu. I'm a solution architect, also from the Tableau Professional Services West team, based out of Seattle. I have been with Tableau for a little bit under 2 years now. It's been a fantastic journey, learning a lot of stuff and doing a lot of interesting things. Prior to that, I do have about close to 20 years of software development, software architecture, solution architecture experience, working with major companies. That's me. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Kesev. So, what will we be talking about today? As Mark mentioned, I think this is sort of a theme that has been going on through the Tableau Server Admin group. We'll be talking about automation, and as you might know, for your server sometimes might look like this, especially for your users, right? It's sort of a bit of a mess. There's content everywhere that people don't understand, people rushing, using your resources, and it kind of sometimes can look like a bit of a Black Friday. For yourself, it might look like this, where there's fires around you, you're the sole admin maybe of that Tableau server, and you're trying to put out fires all over the place on why is there background queues? Why my users are calling me saying that the server is slow, or my users are calling me and complaining that there's too much content, they can't find it, or the users are calling because the backgrounders or their extract, which was scheduled to refresh at 9 a.m., actually is being refreshed and is coming and being updated at 1 p.m., for example. So these are some of the things, or some of the challenges that we think we can solve with something like automation. So today, really, what we want to kind of expand on, especially since Mark's last presentation to the group, is adding a bit more use cases and kind of taking some of those examples to the next step. And really, we want to show how automation can really bring you to reach something like your admin zen, right? And throughout this presentation, we will show some real examples. We'll hopefully show some demos of working code. I would like for you guys to kind of not focus too much on the code, but rather on how we're using automation to fix some of these challenges that we might have today. One caveat is the code that we will show. Again, don't focus too much on the actual code, but it is code that is sample code. So before, if we share it after the call, before deploying it to your production, make sure you review it and make sure it's tested and things like that, because it is sample code. So what we've done to talk about automation today is really we've divided, you know, we've divided the we've identified kind of three areas, right? We've said where can we leverage automation? We can leverage automation for admins, right? So for yourselves, how can we leverage automation? We have divided into another topic, which is automation to improve scalability and stability of your server. So not something that you do as an admin as your daily work, but something that you might want to leverage to keep that system stable. And what we also have identified as another area is the automation for self-service, meaning in the Tableau server, we do want to, being a self-service tool where the business is empowered to kind of be more self-reliant and not have to you know, not have to depend on admins or other types of users. We want to kind of foster that that self-service, and so there's also a chance there to use automation to really improve that self-service experience for the users. So if we drill down into those three specific areas, and what we'll show, if you see the content, the bolded sections under those sections there, is the stuff that we'll be demoing today. And some ideas are around, for example, automation for admins is content cleanup, where we want to make sure that we are, you know, keeping the server clean by removing old, stale, unused content, and Kesav will drill into that a bit more. Other automation that we can leverage for yourselves, for your admins, for example, is installation and upgrades of systems. Imagine not having to kind of have a whole weekend of downtime where a user manually has to go and upgrade each single node or multiple clusters. What we have seen with many customers across the Bay Area and across the US and across the world is that we're seeing more and more customers leverage automation to actually do those steps. Automation for scalability. What we'll demo today is the Tableau process autoscale, or what we call it the queue killer. This is specifically for backgrounders and kind of minimizing queues and reacting to backgrounded queues in your extract refreshes. Other ideas include subscription management, where we can have subscription expire. It's something that we don't have as part of the product, but as you know, subscriptions might be running forever and taking server resources, but actually some users might not have ever been using them. So we can leverage automation to do things like that. Mark last time demoed or talked about the extract refresh management that we have implemented with Mark. Manage runaway jobs, new features that we can leverage to kind of automatically kill jobs, long-running jobs, especially on backgrounders and things like that, is another chance to automate. Automation for self-service. So Kesav will also be demoing business unit onboarding. So you can imagine a world where a business user that wants access to the Tableau server, instead of just writing a support case or whatever internal support ticket to say, I need this server, we can automate, I need this site on this server, we can automate the whole process by just grabbing a couple of inputs from the business unit, and then automating a site creation, a site admin creation, group creation, everything to get that user set up and running as fast as possible with minimal involvement from the admin team, for example. We can also leverage automation for content promotion, meaning we can automate the movement and the promotion of, workbooks or data sources from a sandbox environment to a more standardized or certified environment by using, again, automation to move these objects around. But again, what we'll show today is the bolded ones. You can always reach out to us later on if you're interested in knowing more about the other points. So I'll turn it over to Kesav.
Thank you, Emiliano, for the good introduction. So, as Emiliano mentioned, today we'll talk about briefly about what and how automation can help admins with. And one of the key topics that we are talking about today is this content cleanup. Most of you probably know that content is the king in this whole BI space, right? So um, with that in mind, content can get stale. I mean, one of the challenges is what is, how do we deal with the stale content? And um, it could be content could be stale for various reasons. People leaving companies, or people create stuff and then forget about it because they don't use it for long, and various other things. But having stale content does what? That's the key questions, right? So it consumes storage space. So yeah, storage is not expensive, but still think about if your storage becomes bigger, the backups and restores will become longer and bigger as well, because it has to deal with all this stale content even though it has not been touched or used in a while. Similarly, let's say if you have a refresh that is scheduled on a content that is stale, regardless of whether it is stale or not, it's going to continuously refresh, or at least try to refresh, and then use up server resources. That's wasted resources there. And then lastly, but very importantly, if there is a lot of stale content and people are trying to get to the real content, this may come in the way and make it harder for them to figure out, what is the real one and what is a stale content. Well, in order to handle these three scenarios, what you as an admin or as a user can do is you can manually clean up. I mean, you can set up things like, okay, I'll set up some time to clean my stuff up, or various things. But doing that is going to be one time consuming, it's error prone, and it's going to be hard, it's going to be arduous. So what we are trying to do with this content cleanup, the solution that we are proposing with this one is, how do we automate this process? So Emiliano, can you go to the next slide, please? So this is the three-step process that what we want to do is the first step would be to warn of stale content. That means essentially if certain workbook or data source has not been used in a configured number of days, and I'll show you a bit of a demo. um, like maybe 60 days, if somebody has not touched a workbook, the first thing we do is we notify the owner of the workbook um, an email saying, hey, you have not used this workbook in a while. Just go touch it. If you don't do anything in the next 30 days, we will archive. That leads us to the second point, where if we reach the archive threshold, then we move the content into every site will have their own archive folder, hopefully, and then we essentially will be moving that into the archive folder. Owner will be notified that the workbook has moved, and then they can only the owner has access. So we strip down the permissions to just the owner. Now what owner can do is they can move back, and put it back into circulation, or republish, or do something like that. If they don't take action on that either, let's say if we give another 30 more days, so it's almost 120 days to there now. And at that point, the content is deleted from the site, and the owner is notified of the deletion. So now what this does is warning is giving the owner a chance to go look at, is this something that I really need? And if they are not able to get to that within that specified time frame, then the archive will, when it is in archive, they are given another chance. And then the third chance is like, well, it's cluttering a lot of things and it's using up the resources. I'm going to delete this. So can we go to the next? And I'll explain how we do that. So to achieve this solution, what we do is we have two different components. We have a Tableau workbook that we have created that goes and queries the Tableau repository and identifies all the archivable, warnable, archivable, or deletable content. And then it also gives the user or the admin to define the thresholds for all three levels. And then once that is set and saved, the second part, the second component, which is the Python-based executable, is accessing the workbook, getting the data from there, and then it's performing whatever action it is, whether it is to warn, send an email, archive, move, or delete, completely remove from the site. So all three actions are done by the Python executable. Now this Python executable can be scheduled. Right now we have an executable that is available for Windows, but it can definitely be run on Linux-based systems as well. It can be scheduled using a Windows scheduler, or you can use you can use the same way in Linux as well. You can, with this executable, you can also, I'll show the demo as well. It's also managing multiple resources. So I will be sharing my screen and to show a very, very quick and brief demo. Okay, here we go. So the workbook I just talked about is this. And as you can see, there are thresholds here. You can select what kind of threshold, and then you can define your warning threshold, your archiving threshold. Delete threshold is not here. It is not on a different tab. But this is essentially giving you a lot of options here. You can exclude sites. You can do various other things here. And then when you search this, what it will do is it will give you an action. It'll give you a site action, and then what is the one, whether it is this is workbook, so it's going to be workbook and who the owner is. And similarly, you can do the same thing with data sources, same thing. And then finally, when you're looking at some kind of deletion, well, it doesn't show anything right now, but this is where you can set your deletion threshold as well. Now, well, what I will do is I will change this a bit so we can have some data. Oops. And I'm going to change this to warning threshold to 15. Let's see. So now we can see a bit more in here. And then I'm also going to change the archiving to 30 days. So we can see that we have a warn going off to all these people. And then archive, I'm looking at just the default site for now. And our good friend Emiliano is getting a notification on his workbook being archived. So that's that. So let me save this. Oh. Why would this? Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'm not the owner, that's why.
You do a save as. You do a save as because that's probably not your workbook.
Yeah, I know. I should
Yeah.
have done that.
Yeah. Type the name of the workbook. Yeah.
Save it. But I know now I messed up because it's going to mess up my script.
You want to overwrite the original one?
That's okay.
If you want, you still do a save as. You type the exactly same name as the workbook, then the save will show up. I know it. It's a two-step process. Do a save as if you want to overwrite the original one. Still do a save as. That's by design. You type the name, exact name, unused space workbooks, exact name. Workbooks. Find the right folder. I don't know which folder.
Yeah, I think the name is different though. So.
Yeah, you save, then the other button will come up. Ask you to confirm. Have a what? Okay, this is something else.
Yeah, it's okay. That's fine.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Totally fine.
May still
well,
ask you. Yeah,
well, at least what we are able to show is this workbook, and then this is the idea was when we change these numbers, that when we run the script, that it picks up these numbers and executes them. And what I wanted to show was go back and essentially, in this case, what we have set up is, this is annoying. What we have set up is for this default, we do have like an archive folder which is empty right now. And when we execute the script, what would happen is the one workbook that was supposed to be archived would be archived into this folder. If you can get that, I do have the script. I don't know if it makes any sense. I mean, right now it's not going to do anything.
You can execute it. I mean, just do one thing, Kesav. So if you go back to the initial workbook, we can do it this way real quick. And you just copy the name. That one, just copy the name. And then you edit this one.
Oh man.
And then, like Mark said, if you change the
file save as.
Yeah.
Yeah. File.
Let me make sure I have the numbers right.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
15 and 30. And then file save as.
Yeah. And then just
paste.
I see. This is the workbook name. Okay. Yes, overwrite. Then the save will show up. Yeah.
I learned something new again.
Yeah. Well, that's I call the two-step process. I think it's a good design from Tableau. Just confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have the workbook. So now at this point, I'm going to switch over to my other machine, which will have, sorry about that. And then this, it's just an executable. All you do is run it, and hopefully everything runs fine. It's looking at the workbook, and it's fetching something, and it got a 500 internal server error. The gods of demos are not very happy. Well, this one did fail because of some issue here, I guess. I don't know what it is, but well, hopefully it would have been nice if we showed something interesting. Let's see if it did anything. It didn't do anything. Sorry about that.
But it is okay, Cassif. I know the script works. Just for the rest of our audience, we've been using similar scripts for the last almost 3 years. And we deleted, I think it's 80% of workbooks on the server for the last 3 years. The approach works.
Go ahead, take over, Emiliano. That's all I had to show. Thank you.
Awesome. So let me just share my screen now. So yeah, as Mark mentions, it is very useful to clean up that stale content. Hopefully one day, as part of the Tableau product, we'll have something that's already part of that product.
Yeah,
but I don't think anytime soon. Yeah. So hopefully one day, we all these kinds of things, that automation, and we as Mark and myself and Kesa, we do feed this back obviously to our product managers and dev team to hopefully one day have these as part of the product. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the next topic here. And we'll talk about automation for scalability. So what is the challenge? Now, for this particular one, the challenge is really resource usage. How do I optimize, my configuration? How do I optimize all the machines I have in my cluster from 2 to 10 to 20? And really, right now, Tableau is not elastic in a way that it reconfigures itself based on usage, right? So that can lead to resource bottlenecks. Think about I have 10 backgrounders total on my whole system, but at 9 a.m. I have 2 schedules kick off that are going to go and refresh 50 extracts. Now that's no one's fault, because as you might know, the user, as long as he can publish, he can attach to any schedule that there is available. And usually the user, maliciously or not, probably not maliciously, will attach probably to the most frequent schedule or to a very early in the morning schedule, like 9 a.m., but doesn't realize how much other extracts will be refreshing at the same time. So he would expect that extract to be refreshed by 9 a.m. or a few minutes after, but not 4 hours after. So having a static configuration where we cannot scale up and scale down, for example, our backgrounders, can lead to things like delayed data, can lead to more headaches for you, where users are sending me emails or logging support tickets saying, why is my extract not refreshed? I scheduled it for 9 a.m. It's 1 p.m. and still not done. So that inflexibility of that configuration can lead to some of these issues. And manual reconfiguration of that, even if we are looking at a queue, is not really efficient. We don't really want one person full time to be looking at backgrounder queues and saying, oh, okay, I need to add more backgrounders, or I need to scale down the VisQLs. So the way we can solve this, again, it's a 2-step process. What we can do is we can monitor the Tableau processes and the statuses on the machines. And we can also monitor the resources and the bottlenecks and queues of those machines. And based on those parameters, those inputs that we get from that monitoring, we can automatically feed a reconfigure of those Tableau processes on the fly. I think it was 2018.3, I don't remember the exact version, but we added the capability to reconfigure the number of backgrounders and VisQLs without having to restart the server. So we want to take it back.
Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So that's 18.2. So we can reconfigure that on the fly. I wanted to take Mark's idea that I think he showed last time of just doing it based off of time. So nighttime and daytime, we can switch those around. And I wanted to add a bit more and see if we can do it by monitoring what is actually going on the server. And how do we do it? It's really, again, it's similar to Kasav's approach, where we have a Tableau workbook, which is hitting the Postgres, and it identifies how many active backgrounds we have, so how many backgrounders are actually doing something. And it also identifies how many extracts do we have in the queue. Now, those are 2 parameters that we then feed into a Python-based executable, which obviously retrieves those 2 parameters from this workbook. It also retrieves the current process count, or the background account on the specific machine we want to be auto-scalable through TSM commands, and then executes based on certain parameters and based on certain logic, re-executes the reconfiguration of those Tableau processes on that identified machine. Obviously, this can be scheduled. In the demo, I'll just run it manually, just to show you. Hopefully, this demo works. But really, the idea is, if we wanted to apply this kind of thing, is we can have 1 or 2 kind of static nodes, which we keep always the same. and I'll call it just a normal static node, and you can see here on the left. And then we have other nodes, which we can call elastic nodes, which are dedicated to scaling up and scaling down those different processes, the VisQL and the backgrounder. Now in the demo I'll show, I'm only going to do the backgrounder reconfiguration, but you can imagine that if we add logic also around, if there's too many, there's a lot of users on my system right now, things are slowing down, instead of backgrounders at the default state, I want to add more VisQLs, and that we can definitely do through scripting. So let me show this demo. Hopefully you all can see. I'm not going to go through the code or anything. I just want to show you, though, that it is probably less than 200 lines of Python code that's able to do this. And I will show the current status of the Tableau server that I have. It's a 2-node system. This node 2 is the elastic node, let's say, and by default, it will only have 4 backgrounders running on it. Now, what I'll do is I'll log into my server to kick off some schedules. And I'll also show you that right now there is nothing running. So this is the default admin view that tells you kind of what backgrounders are doing for the extracts. And here, what I will do is I will kick off about 24 extracts all at the same time. Kind of considering we only have 4 backgrounders, this should create a queue. Perfect. So we have 4 in process and 20 pending. Now I'll go and execute my script. So the script identifies that there's only 4 backgrounders in default backgrounders. I have 20 backgrounders in the queue. I have 4 active backgrounders. And what it's going to do is going to adjust and kick off a script to change the number of backgrounders to 8. I've set a maximum of 8 on that machine through my config right here. And hopefully you see the new background is kind of spinning up. Now this is gonna run for a while because I think the extracts I just kicked off are quite large, but we can start also seeing very soon. We will see soon this number of in process going up as soon as all these backgrounders spin up. That's something that takes a couple of minutes usually. Just think of the Tableau server having to kind of spin up these processes from 0. But as you can see, this is going up. So takeaway here is we can leverage this really cool feature of having to reconfigure the VisQLs and the backgrounders without having to restart the server. I think one day, again, this is the first step for Tableau to be fully automatically scalable based on usage. And I think the next step, hopefully, will be to be able to add actual nodes on the fly, right? So think of if you're in a cloud situation where you can spin up nodes automatically without restarting a server and just add backgrounders or whatever that may be, or VisQLs based on usage. That's really, to me, is an ideal situation for admins. It does take a bit. I just want to show you to at least going up by 1. because I would like to show you also how it scales back down. So anyways, if you think that, so my script is still running there in the background waiting for these nodes to reconfigure. But if you think that I could have this on a schedule, maybe every hour, every 5 minutes, whatever I need, it will be able to kind of look at this particular node. Again, this is a sample script that I created in the past few weeks. It's not intended to kind of be at this point to kind of go to production or anything, but it is a good starting point to be able to do that. So one last time, if it doesn't show up, oh, there you go. So the script is done, and hopefully now we will see more backgrounders running. Yes. So now I actually have 8 things processing, right? So my 8 backgrounders, now that they've been spun up, I've reduced my queue greatly, right? Because now I have 4, I have 4 more backgrounders that are running. So recapping again, probably a good idea to have your static nodes and your elastic nodes that really kind of change the number of backgrounds set to a max. And I'm not going to kind of wait until they're all done, but as soon as the queue is over and there is no queue and there's no active backgrounders, there's less than 4 active backgrounders, I can rerun the script and it will take the backgrounders down back to 4. So back to the presentation. So over to you, Kazev.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. I mean, seeing the backgrounder spin up automatically and back down when the queues. Going up or down is really exciting, at least for me. So the next topic on the agenda is automation for self-service. So essentially what the challenge, most of the challenges is the bottlenecks in standardization. So let me touch a little bit on the standardization. Standardization in terms of naming conventions, like you want to have certain name be in uppercase, lowercase, whatever, and then same thing with your project structure. If you want to predefine your project structure, you want to predefine your permissions. The thing is probably somewhere somebody has written it down, and if you get a notification to add a new site or new business unit, you as an admin would probably go through that document and start creating various things. There could be typos, there could be various things, right? So that's the first challenge that we would want to solve. And the second thing is the bottleneck. And let's think about it. I mean, let's say if there are only 2 admins and there are like hundreds of business units that are wanting to create their business units, their sites and projects and things like that. And the 2 poor admins are probably working really hard to get them, but they don't realize, but they are becoming like a bottleneck for a business unit getting onboarded. So again, this self-service model, what it would do is it would have all kinds of checks and balances to make sure that people are not randomly creating sites. There would be an oversight by the admins. At the same time, it will free up admins to do other important things with Tableau Server, managing them, and also. The other thing is with this self-service model, we are also promoting self-reliance and delegation. So we are saying, hey, here, look, we are going to give you responsibility to get your self-reliance and promote that concept. At the same time, we're not going to get everyone to just do anything they want to. They can. There will be checks and balances that approvals are needed, appropriately managed by the admins. An alternate, as I mentioned, is that you can do this in a manual fashion, and then it just is long and consuming. Next slide, please. What is in order to achieve the solution, we are again following a two-step process: gather and execute. So during the gather phase, we have created a very simple UI, a very basic simple UI that captures minimum pieces of information from the business users or business owners, and then it stores in an XML file, and then that is fed into this execute, where it takes that XML file and actually executes a script that would create all the environment for you and sends an email. So can we go to the next slide, please? So the two components again that we are talking about are the user interface, a fairly simple interface, and the purposefully kept it really small and simple because we didn't want to clutter a lot of unnecessary information that the business users might get confused about. So that's that, and we do have approval process. And then that XML is fed into the Python-based executable that will go create site admins. It'll pre-configure projects, groups, and permissions. And if you do have any analytics workbooks that you want to have automatically published, can also be published, and then it will send a welcome email to all the site admins. Good, nice enhancement somebody was talking about was you could also have like list of users that can be imported. And I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this time the demo will not fail as it failed last time. I'm sorry about that. It's so bad. I am going to share my screen here and do a very quick demo. I know we are running slow on time. So I'm going to start my web server. This is going to start the UI. So it only has the 4 elements. I'm just going to create something really quick. And you are putting in, I'm going to add Emiliano. I guess I got him right. And then I'm going to say just this. It's pretty dumb, so there is not much of information. But what behind the scenes it has done is this is the XML that I was talking about, and it did create the entry into the XML, and it added as new, and it has added Emiliano as the admin. So now what I will do is I'll switch here, and I will go to my other script, not here, and then I'll execute this. And
Do you want to show that? Okay.
yeah, while that's running, I also want to show you quickly that this demo site is not there on the server. Is this where you were trying to get to, Emiliano? I didn't mean to cut you off though.
Yes. Yes.
No, I watched the time and I was like, oh shit, we are already late. So anyway, this script is done. It has created the admins, projects, and groups. I can quickly, very quickly, I can show you here. You can define your default projects and groups in your configuration. This is externalized, and you can also point to your Tableau server and various other things here as well. Again, this is still a sample code. It's not fully there yet. So if we go here, hopefully it does that. There you go. You can see that it did create the demo site 10. And if you go in, you can see that it has created various projects for you, like I defined. And then if I go to the groups, I can see I have created a bunch of groups, one for admin, creators, explorers, and viewers. And then to the admins, it has added Emiliano. And then at this time, that's the short and brief demo. You can expand the concept of self-service to various other things. You can even promote certain content. Well, I didn't get time to show you how to promote your or upload your or publish your default content, but you could essentially publish your default content. You can bring your users. If you have a system like Okta or something, you can also define, or even Apple Directory, you can connect up and bring your groups, users, and permissions also through this script. With that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I want Emiliano to show that beautiful, nice email that he might have received.
All right. open up that in a second.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
You're not
Share.
sharing.
Okay, here we go. So as Kesav said, we want to automate as much as possible for you guys, right? So it could be a standard template of various things, and kind of talking about that self-reliance, that self-service. Since you can probably nominate a couple of site admins, what we also want to do is once they get the site, or the site is created, we want to let them know that the site has been created, and we want them to give them a head start on what to do. So what better thing to do that than an email, or you could probably integrate with a Slack or something that sends a Slack message out.
Just
But
click on the download
yeah.
pictures. Just download pictures.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's much better. So basically, we can automate that. We can say, hi, hello, welcome, Emiliano. Welcome to your new site. You've been added to the site admin as a site admin on this demo site. Be careful. With great power comes great responsibility, etc. And then we can give them maybe some quick start guides and some links, or maybe to our internal knowledge base, or some rules around what to do when you're a site admin and things like that, right? So again, what we want to do is we want to take things out from what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and automate as much as possible. And if I go back to my presentation, kind of, and we'll take questions at the end. We'll read the Q&A. But really, what we want to do is we want to prove to you that if your day looks like this, there's a lot of fires, there's a lot of things that you have to do, and it becomes a bit of a mess. We can show you that with a bit of investment in time and resources into automation, can really make your days a bit more like this, where you can enjoy your coffee and you can watch Tableau server scale up and scale down and create things automatically. So that's it for now. I think we're right on time. We wanted to keep 10 minutes for questions. And thank you.
Same here. Thank you.
So, Mark, do we just look at the questions in the Q&A?
Yeah, you can look at the questions in the Q&A panel. I answered some of them already, but there's still quite a few left open. Yeah.
I guess let's go one by one. So what if the content owner had left the organization? It is possible to alert the project leaders. This way, it also can help us to identify and license users who owns content. Yes, and I think we do this with some of our scripts where we try to actually make the project leaders, again, more self-reliant and give them more power and more responsibility, meaning that they should really know what is inside their projects, and they're kind of the ultimate owners of those projects. So yes, we can automate. Again, I would think we'd probably go to the Postgres database to identify what a particular user that has left and what stuff he owns, and we can automatically, with an email or with whatever, to send an alert to the project leader saying, look, there's content that this person doesn't have, that used to own, and he's left. Maybe we can we can alert them or take over the ownership or reassign it to someone else. So yes, that's definitely possible. Second question. So the script pulls the parameters from the workbook, or are the parameters in the script itself? I think it depends. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but the ones that Kesav demoed for the content cleanup, those pull the parameters from the workbook, and those are there's a tab command call in the background that calls the URL of the workbook. It downloads it, and then as a CSV, and then those are used as inputs inside the code.
That is correct. Yes.
All right, man. Let's see. I would have thought I got from where. So yes, that's the same question.
That's workbook. Yeah.
How often would you run schedule the scaling, Emiliano, seeing as it takes a few minutes to swap over? I wouldn't. I was trying to do it pretty quickly, and you saw it took probably like 3 minutes to kind of have those servers come up. That really greatly depends on also how fast your servers are. Mine are really simple VMs, so they're not tremendously fast. I would expect on much more powerful machines that process will be quite quick. I wouldn't do it less than 5 minutes, to be honest, and keep it. But to be on the safe side, probably every 15 minutes is good enough, I would think.
But if the question asks how often we swap between backgrounders and the vSquare nodes, in my production server, we swap daily.
Yes.
High level in the daytime, we give more backgrounders, and in the nighttime, we give more backgrounders. In daytime, we give more vSquare nodes. We change it daily. We change pretty much 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Depends on your workload.
Correct. And yes, is there any programmatic way, API or CLI, to remove schedules from data sources, both published and embedded? I'm actually not 100% sure of that. I know there is an API call to reassign to a different schedule. So you can reassign that with a REST API call. I'm not 100% sure if we can turn the schedule off for just one data source. I'm pretty sure it's possible though.
Well, one idea is that you could create like a dummy schedule that never runs, and you can move it there. I think.
Sure, yeah,
exactly.
Very smart. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Very good.
Yeah,
awesome.
Very good.
That's
yeah. Disable the schedule. Dummy schedule means you can also do put it over there, disable it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Next question, is there a way to stop extract processing once it's started? I think this is a new feature that allows us with the REST API to monitor and stop running jobs.
Yeah, correct. I think it's 19.2 or 19.1 feature.
Yeah.
You find the job ID from API, you can stop the extract job.
Correct.
I believe with 19.3, right now still in beta, there is a UI from server admin view. Actually, you can do it from a UI.
Correct.
In 19.3, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Yes, I saw that, but.
Can you read all the questions? Audience cannot see the questions.
Oh, right. Sorry. There's a question from E. Maxon. Yes, I saw that, but doing it this way will invalidate the license. I'm not sure I understand.
I think that the question was around you bring up more backgrounders. What about license? The assumption is you have enough license, and during the daytime you were using license for the vSquare nodes. Then you swap it, reduce the vSquare nodes, then you increase the backgrounders.
Exactly, because we're not adding nodes. So if you're on a core license, we're not adding any cores to your configuration. We actually can't do that right now to add nodes. So we're just scaling up and down the same node. Now, if you have a role-based license, that's even less of an issue because you have unlimited kind of resources to play with.
Yeah.
Next question from Tarashasank. If there is a corruption of Solo process, can we fix it without bringing the server down? I'm not sure about that one.
Actually,
maybe Mark can help.
Yeah, actually, it happened to us as well. I think there is a way. You can fix that. The searching engine, you can fix that without bringing the server down, although it's not officially supported. Let me type you my email address. If you are curious, you can email me so we can take this offline more. Okay.
Perfect. Last question from Emaxon. The question was about turning off welcome banner. I'm not sure what that is referring to, but I think what you're asking about is to be able to turn, when you log into the site, to turn on the new version of Tableau, to turn off the welcome banner on the top, I'm guessing. It's not supported. It's a bit of a hack. But I think someone has posted that in the actually in the Tableau forums. I think Mark.
I just have there is solutions from
okay,
yeah.
Fantastic.
We do have a couple more minutes. Please press QA button to submit your questions. Yes, one more came in. Two more came in.
Yep, so there's 2 more questions. When we schedule extract, one from Kim Tong, when we schedule extracts, some tables from database, does Tableau extract the entire tables in the database? So with that depends on how you define your data source in Tableau. So if you are pointing to certain tables, you can kind of decide, right? So you can say, I want only these tables joined together, and I want to extract them with a particular filter on them. So you might just abstract a subset of data in those tables if necessary. All right, many more questions coming. So one from Vasil. Will you share the workbooks with Postgres views? Yes, we can share those. Will you share the Python scripts? Yes. I'll share some sample scripts, but please keep in mind that these are sample scripts. Please don't use them on production, like as is. Make sure you change them and you adapt them to your environment, and you thoroughly test them. Right? That's a promise I need from you guys.
But another word of caution is that these are custom scripts that are written by the professional services. So if you call Tableau support for them, they probably won't be able to help you much.
They won't. Absolutely. It's completely custom. One from Genu. How soon will these automation features be included in the base install instead of doing through a script? What's the timeline? Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that. I know I've been talking to product managers and people in the dev team about some of these things. So there's definitely an interest. Timelines, I've no idea, unfortunately. It's probably a question for our product managers. Maybe
yesterday.
Yeah, maybe you can come meet them at conference and speak to them directly about it.
Submit your idea, then Tableau looks into those ideas. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Steven, one question from Steven. If you run the script to decrease backgrounds, will shut them down even though still processing? Yes. So that's a really good question. So the current way it's done is if you just run the removing a backgrounder, it will take, let's say you've got 4 active backgrounders and you take them down to 2, it will stop whatever is running. Now it will re-queue that. So it will put that particular work or particular job back in the queue. So as soon as the next backgrounder becomes available, it will pick that up again. However, in the scripts that I built, what I was doing, if there's any active backgrounders, to avoid this particular problem, if there's any active backgrounders, I will, if there's any active backgrounders, I will not kind of bring those particular ones down.
No, you are talking about adding. The question I think is like if you take a background away from this node when there were still active running extract jobs.
Yeah,
I think you answered already the first part. It will cancel the background jobs and restart by itself.
Correct. But what I'm saying, Mark, is if you can put logic in your to say if I have active backgrounders that are running, do not kill them.
That means you do not kill the backgrounders you talk about.
Yes.
You will still keep the backgrounder much longer. That's also tricky because sometimes, the job keep going. You may have to wait for an hour.
Correct.
Do that. You trade off.
Yes.
You trade off. Yeah.
Yes.
But let me throw my experience with that. With 19.1 version, I feel it works very well. Actually, it kills the job, spin off a new job right away. So for me, it doesn't matter. Okay, doesn't matter too much at all. But if you were using 18.2 or 18.3 version, there was a bug. So for the active running extract jobs, if the background is gone, actually the job may hang for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fixed, I think, in 19.1. Yes, 19.1 fixed.
That's correct. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
All right, we are running over. Thank you very much, Emiliano and Cassie, for your time. It's awesome presentation. For the audience, thank you for being with us. And this recording will be posted in the Tableau community. And hopefully we'll see you next month. Try to show you next month the Tableau 19.3 new features. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.